We all have light and darkness inside of us, and we know that. Our inner voice can either bring out our light or our darkness. However, it depends on us which side we fit the more. Each one very well knows what represents light and darkness in his own life. Welcome to another chapter of Clichés Reinvented, Reinventing Life's Clichés, a space where I'm gonna share information, thoughts, and insights to help us both live a life in consciousness. These are reflections that have helped me with my personal growth and to live happier and more conscious. This is why now I want to share them with you. I want to thank you for being here today and taking the time to listen to this podcast while you're walking your dog in your car, cooking, cleaning, whatever you're doing. Thank you for deciding to be here with me and with yourself today. Our inner voice is a huge tool that we all have at our fingertips that can guide us along the path of our well being and fulfillment. However, when there is no balance between not ignoring our inner voice, but also not letting it take full control over us, we can easily get lost. It's an everyday work. It's getting up every single day and being open to all the new possibilities that are waiting for you. Being open to listening to yourself, not ignoring how you're feeling, and at the same time, listening to the world, listening to your surroundings, be an observer, and work on your empathy with the world. Because not only what we think or what we are experiencing is the absolute truth or is the center of the world. We live in a diverse world of thoughts, perspectives, and people, so it is a daily task to work for this balance where it's like, okay, this is what I am, like I'm here, this is what I think, and there are the others, what others are, what others think. We cannot close ourselves to what we take as truth because we close ourselves to a whole world of perspectives and ideas that exist, and we lose the beauty of sharing with society, exchanging ideas. We do not have to agree with each other on everything, but we do have to respect each point of view, each life, each personal experience. Working for this balance is not easy, but it's not impossible either. I would say that all extremes are bad. They actually are, but we will say that all extremes can be a little bit not very beneficial. And it is exactly the same with our inner voice. In the previous chapter, we talk about how by our own decisions, sometimes we ignore our own inner voice. And today we're going to discuss when the opposite happens, when we allow our inner voice to take complete control of our lives, when we overthink everything that we do and everything that happens around us, when we cannot be in peace because we have to find an explanation for everything, because each thought stays inside our head and it is as if we could not think of anything else. When we believe that only what we think is good and is the truth and not that nothing else exists, this is where the problem is. This happens for different reasons. We may be very isolated from society, and this lack of human interaction leads us to lock ourselves in our head, in our own world. That if we lived in a world where we were the only living being and there was nothing else but us, well, there is anything else to do and it will be completely fine. But this is not the reality. The reality is that we live in a world full of individuals like us, with whom we share our home, the planet where we live in, with whom we can share our ideas, with whom we can interact, with whom we can create relationships and develop in order to grow and develop as a whole community, as a society. Isolating yourself is actually very easy. A recent example was in the pandemic, where isolation increased significantly, not only of human interactions of children and teenagers were limited, but also those of adults. This lack of interaction lets us to lock ourselves in our mind. And here it is worth highlighting a little thing. In the middle of the pandemic, we were not even completely isolated since we still had access to all the information about what was happening in the world. But we didn't have the opportunity to go out, to distract our minds, to go out of the routine. Well, we did. We had the opportunity, but many of us didn't knew how to handle it, this situation, being in the same place for such a long time. Something that had probably never happened to us before. However, we are no longer in a pandemic, and isolating yourself and letting our inner voice take control of us is still very easy. Anyways, it begins to become our everything. We distance ourselves from society, or rather we lock ourselves in our mind. We overthink everything and we stop being aware that we are living in a community. And whether we like it or not, we have the privilege of being able to live and interact with the outside world. And at the same time, live, enjoy, and be aware of our inner world. Really, this is also like an incredible gift, which I must admit that I had not thought of it before, like just till now. If you think about it, which other living being in the world can become aware that they can enjoy the company of others, do a job in action for the world, work as a team, contribute to the development and well being of society, of the whole world, and at the same time be aware that he or she can find all the answers, happiness, well being, and peace within himself, within herself, being aware that he or she is more than enough. I don't really know. Even though there are animals that are aware of their own existence, however, it will be time to start doing studies with animals to see if they are aware of all of this, of the whole world of consciousness, which I don't really think so, but this is something that we should ask science maybe one day. The fact is that we have been blessed by the simple fact of being here. And our inner voice is a great tool to lead us to fulfill our purpose and live in well being. But as we said, it is a double edged sword. And I say this because I have also been in this situation where I lock myself in my mind, in my thoughts, where I overthink things way too much, and where I believed that I was the center of the world. This led me to believe that only what I thought was right, and this led me to disrespect others, not to behave in the best way, cause harm, hurt feelings, etc. We all have light and darkness inside of us, and we actually know that. Our inner voice can bring out our light or our darkness to the surface. However, it depends on us which side we will fit more, either light or darkness, and each one of us very well knows what represents light and darkness in their own life. So our inner voice can also cause harm if we give the power to these thoughts that cause harm to ourselves or to others, or we decide to give the power to all our thoughts and our inner voice of love. It also happens that when we focus on what we think only and how we see things, we limit ourselves to our point of view and our perspective of things, because it is very easy for our ego to rise and begin to take over control, because the ego, believe it or not, is our worst enemy, and the funniest thing of all is that it is ourselves. I don't know if it's funny, but we could say it's funny. The ego is the result of all the times we have decided to give power to our darkness, to our thoughts of superiority that make us believe that we're the center of the world when we are not. We can be the center of our own world, but not the center of the world. Hope you get the difference. The inner voice is complex, but just as there are features of it that we can control, there are others that we cannot, that only arise, they just come out. So we must learn to listen and reflect on what we ourselves are saying to ourselves. This is when we can determine if what we are feeling will cause a positive or negative impact in our life. It all depends on how we see it and the consequences that it brings to us and those around us, how we feel with it. If you evaluate and see that what you feel you have to do will bring positive consequences for you and those around you, if, for example, it will bring you well being, it will make you feel good, and you're not causing harm to anyone, you know very well that this is what you should do. However, with the inner voice, we can become impulsive and take decisions and actions without thinking about what the results may be. Certainly, there are decisions in life that are made to be made in the moment without thinking about it so much, while others require a little bit more of awareness, emotional stability, and reflection. How do we learn to differentiate them? It's something that only experience can answer to each one of us. However, going back to our instinctive behavior, of course, it is important that you listen to yourself and that you know what you want, but that the action you take does not cause any harm, neither to you nor to anyone else. As we have already discussed, everything comes back. Harm can be confused with the fact that it hurts at first. We need to remember that there will always be things, actions, decisions that we take that may hurt at first, but we know that they are the best for us in the long run, and we should learn to differentiate this. It is very easy to know when something is causing damage. We do not have to be fortune tellers, nor it is necessary to fully understand our behavior, because for that there is therapy and professionals who can help us. But nevertheless, each one of us very well knows how we are feeling with each action or decision that we take. It is not necessary to make a deep reflection or meditate for hours to know if you're feeling good or bad. It's as simple as that. Our body tells us if there is something that is not adding up, we feel it. If we're not completely okay, we know it. It's just paying attention, just paying a little bit more of attention to these little signs that are there and that they are sending us a message, just as it can be to indicate that we are doing things right. It can also be to warn us that there is something that is not quite okay, that is not quite right. The fact of recognizing and giving enough importance and attention to these signals that comes from us is enough to know that there is something that we must work on, change, or reflect on. We do not have to know which one is the origin of our discomfort. But if we take the signs, we have taken a huge step towards our well being. This is why the inner voice is a great tool, but at the same time, it can be a double edged sword. It is important that we reflect on how our relationship with it is in this point of our life, what we are giving importance to and to what we are not, what is bringing us good results and what is not, what is making us feel good and what is not. Little by little, we will discover it better and we'll make the most of the tool that will give us the answers for everything in our lives, which is inside us and which only you can bring to light and only you can discover and develop it. Thank you for arriving to the end of this chapter. Hope you enjoy it, you reflect a little bit. If you like what you heard, share this audio. Let's spread consciousness in this world. Don't forget to follow Clichés Reinvented on Instagram, clichés_re_invented. Hope you enjoy it. See you the next time. Love you guys.